Hey everyone, New12 here, and welcome back to the recap of Umineko episode 6. Oh god, it took a little bit of a time off when I'm recording this in the last one. About 2 weeks, I would say. And I wanted everything to settle down and really see where this thing is placed in my eyes. Because, my god, absolutely phenomenal. I think it's safe to say that it's probably my favorite chapter so far episode. Episode 6 was just so well written. It was just, everything about it was well done. There wasn't a part where I thought, man, this fucking sucks. It was just, from start to finish, it was just a really, really solid chapter. I loved the way different things got in it, brought up, different themes, etc., etc. I just think it just made everything top notch. Now, I don't even like love stuff that much, and I thought it was still really, really well written. Which just says, I don't like love stuff a lot, so it just shows how well written it is. Regardless, oh god, I should probably talk about how I think the structure is for this whole series. It's really interesting because the way this is framed, it talks about these multiple layers of the story. So I should probably start with the base layer, which that's the game board. It's pretty obvious to everyone to see. Everyone here, game board pieces, that's just the first layer. We then go up another layer where, or at least I don't even know how to describe these layers. We have like fictional people, but they're still theoretically on the game board. That would be like, in episode 2 or 3. It was 2. Beatrice showing up and walking around. There was no Beatrice person walking around. Someone as Beatrice, maybe. But there was no actual Beatrice person. Same with Kenzo. We see Kenzo constantly and people quote-unquote interacting with Kenzo, but we know he doesn't exist, at least in this world. So it's like the ghost and spirits, I guess, would be a different layer. And I guess you could throw in like Henan/Shannon in there if we were going with my ideas that they're one and the same, which I think that's pretty much guaranteed at this point. Because if they're one and the same, then theoretically at times they don't exist. Like when they're arguing back and forth, it's really not two people arguing. So it would be like, on a different level. Then, of course, we have the game board and, Lambda Delta, Burn, Battler, all that good stuff. They're there. And then we have, so that's 3 already. The 4th layer would be where Angie and them are. Angie's a weird fucking person because she's on multiple levels at that point. Because in 4, she's in the meta. But at the same time, we've seen her outside of it on a layer above it because she's discussing these ideas, because she was in a fucking story in a story. Because the way Hachijo was writing, I should probably actually flip over to Feathering, because the way she was writing these things, it was extremely interesting, given how she's writing all of these things. Wait, did that actually change? Only solvent she wears in the chest, those memories. Core to names, appearance, and other horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head as a memory aid. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Nothing new. It's really interesting how she's set up as well. As this forger, and that would be the next layer with like these forgeries. Because these two things have to be distinct, because there's going to have to be a regular Rokenjima, because they can't have a story based on something that never happened. So there's original story where that took place, but then there's these stories made about it. So I guess that would be weird, because then you have just regular Rokenjima, and then like a separate area would be all the forgeries, and then that's where all the game board and stuff takes place underneath that folder, technically. So you'd have like Hachijo and Angie in there, in that world, because they're reading a story about everyone else underneath, and Burn is underneath that level. But at the same time, she then transcended into that level, which is odd. Unless we take into account that it was written into that story that that's what happened. Because we see Beatrice go into and talk with Angie and them, and the witch, so I could assume it was written that way, which it blurs the line of where they are. But we know for a fact that it's not real. These stories aren't real, because it's clearly a forgery. No, we don't know what happened on, Rokunjima, the original one. The original Rokunjima, the explosion one, where all the bottles actually originally came from, and the stories originated around that mystery. That's just, something else entirely. And finally, the last layer that I could think of would be that this is extremely meta in the sense that it knows it's a story, because it's basically said it's a story. Thus, the reader is on the highest plane, which the real world would be the highest plane. So there would be the reading world, the original Rokunjima 1, wherever Angie and Hachijo Toya are, the quote-unquote real world, or just the world. Then we have the meta, the imaginary people. Oh, like Gap, Ronave. Oh, those people. The magical beings. That's what I should actually probably refer it to instead of like the imaginary people. The magical stuff. And then we have the game board, which is like fucking 7 layers. Christ alive. I'm sure I'm missing a layer too. Oh, Jesus. But that's like the discernible layers I can see right now. Because Hachijo was talking about, the relationship between reader and writer. And it's really how I feel it's like representing the author there. Because like constantly it was about, how the reader and writer have to like, see each other eye to eye, how they interact, all that stuff. It was giving the perspective of the writer versus Angie, the reader. It was really, really interesting how that worked out. And I like that. I like that dynamic that they had, even though I didn't like Toya because I felt like she was a bit too condescending with how she acted, just personally. The whole talking down to someone. I personally don't like it. It's not my thing. I don't like anyone talking down to anyone. It just feels like you're not any better than them, so shut the fuck up, right? Anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent of why I don't necessarily like Hachijo, but whatever. What I'm very interested to see is what's the quote-unquote real world like where Angie and them are? Like, did anyone live besides Ava? Or not? I mean, like, what exactly happened? Well, that's the whole point of these message bottles, I guess. We won't actually probably get a Rokunjima 1 incident because that's just impossible to know. And that's just how it boils down. It's just fucking great, right? But it's just extremely interesting how many fucking layers this story is. And it's really hard to discern like where something begins, where something ends. But oh god, I want to save Erica for last because I'll talk about her for a while. Let's talk about instead the culprit, because that's much harder to explain. Shannon and Ken, how you two are both the same. Oh, and Beatrice, I'll throw you in there as well. But it's just, it's a lot of, that writing was a lot better than I actually thought it was going to be. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think the writing was going to be that good for that love duel. I really thought it was going to be, I don't want to say cliche or heavy-handed, but I thought it was going to be cliche or heavy-handed. Because a lot of things with twists like that come off as superficial, fake, really hard to believe, not well executed, etc., etc. I could go on for hours about how it's just, there's no weight behind it. And I was, in the back of my mind, I was worrying about that. I really was. I was going to think, God, this is going to be all this build-up, and it's going to be just a shit reveal. I don't know why I even think that, because he's a great author. It's just, it's really hard. It's hard to pull off having two different people end up, and having them recognize, realize all that good old stuff, and becoming one. Which that was the whole love duel idea. the whole concept of the person coming to terms with who they are, that whole symbolism is just really interesting. I love that idea. I love the concept there. It was very well executed. I could not think of a better way to execute that kind of idea than having the two come together to fight and basically kill each other. Whichever one's left standing wins. It's a really interesting way to frame it, whereas in other types of media or other stories about the same subject matter, they'd have as a lot weaker, not as visceral as that, I should say. And it's pretty obvious that Beatrice was created from Battler's desires and his ideal woman. It's very interesting that they did show that, after all, and it's anyone who misses that is just absolutely stupid, because pretty heavy-handed there, and it's just very interesting. I would never have guessed that. I would never have guessed that Beatrice herself was born out of the delusions of a fucking 12-year-old boy and what he desires out of a woman. It's amazing. And it's that fact that Beatrice was created to be the perfect woman for Battler. It's really interesting. And that part doesn't go over me. It doesn't get past me. It's just, I didn't expect it. It's interesting. Next thing is, man, I'm just, even after all this time, I'm just lost for words of just how spectacularly written that was. The whole canon goodbye scene was really interesting. Oh, and then there's Good. I fucking hated him. that part was really funny. And really sad at the same time, because it's someone really understanding, I'm dying. I just don't exist anymore. It's just a really somber feeling. It's really depressing when you think about it as well. It's his final goodbye, that he's never going to see these people again. Even though theoretically he will, but just not as himself. And it's really interesting how that was portrayed. Battler, I understand why he wasn't using the Red Truth, and when he could have just absolutely destroyed Erica. He didn't want the heart to be revealed, because in a sense, as they said, it's like killing Beatrice and all that. Revealing the heart is killing Beatrice. Or at least in danger of putting her in that, and revealing the truth. He didn't want to do that because he cares for her too much. He doesn't want to kill her. And it's really sad and really touching at the same time, that he decided to go through hell, literal hell, and oblivion, and, not oblivion, that's Erica, literal logic error hell, to not put her in danger. It's really interesting and really sweet. I keep saying it's fucking interesting. I'm like a broken record. It's really sweet and really endearing as well to see him go through that change. From absolutely despising her to, I don't want to put her into any harm at all. It's awesome. It's fucking awesome. Expectations for 7 are gonna be, well, I hope I get the fucking truth, right? Oh, the Erica part. Oh, the Erica part. Oh, God damn it. So, this is the part of the story where I walk back all of my comments about a character and say, well, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. Yeah, this is the time I walk all that back and I look like a fucking idiot. Because I'm going to walk this back. She's a detestable human being, of course, but I love her character. God, it's so good. It's so fucking good. I cannot, for the life of me, ever. I will fight anyone who says that she is a bad character. I would fight them tooth and nail. She's such a well-written character. A perfect antagonist to the story. A perfect foil to everything that's going on. The messages of the story. And her saying, go fuck your messages. I have the answers. It's just amazing. Her attitude towards everything is amazing, I guess. And I guess the worst part is just me saying what she should do, and then she ends up doing it. It's just, we're basically one and the same at this point. It's just like, this is awkward. It's a fucking mirror, right? I'm looking in a mirror and seeing Erica. If I was I don't know, like a 16-year-old girl with blue hair on an island, that would be me. And it's just like, crazy. It's so strange looking in a mirror and seeing her. And that's what comes out. It's so detestable, but so endearing, I guess, to me. Which is why I hate her, but I love her at the same time. Because nothing will ever make her not a shit human being. Oh, hey, Maria, that candy magic? Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, by the way. Anyone can do that. Yeah, that's great. That's just great. That's great. But her whole aesthetic and the way she goes about things is just absolutely flawless. Perfectly written, perfectly reasoned as well. And how she uses logic and the way we're supposed to view that as being bad is just really, really fun to watch. Really fun to see how that's written. And I'm gonna feel bad. I want her to come back. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna... Fuck, I'm gonna miss her. Fuck it, I'm gonna... Yeah, there's the... Yeah, no. I mean... Come on. I want her back, right? In 7, can I just get a little bit of her? I mean, I don't want to see her gone. I don't think that's fair. She did an amazing job as an antagonist, and an amazing job as someone that's attacking the mystery. Burns just a fucking sore loser. Get over it. I mean, Erica did the best job she could have. I don't think she could have done any better in that final scene. I mean, getting up after being shot, that was going to guarantee her death and all that, and just keep going no matter what is just the true epitome of how she refuses to lose. She refuses to just take yes as an answer or no as an answer. It's just, it's so fucking amazing. And the music at the end, phenomenal. Just absolutely phenomenal. It is the song to end all songs in this story. There is not one song that could be better than that. At least I doubt it. I mean, I'd have to really, really have something that changed my mind, but that's just not going to happen. I mean, it's not like I like her or anything, but I don't want to see her gone. I don't want to see her just in oblivion and just doesn't exist anymore. I think it's bullshit. Come on, she's not that bad. Right? Bring her back just a little bit, please. God, I'm gonna sound terrible because I was, just reneging, saying, "Oh God, please get rid of her." I sound like a fucking idiot right now because I just don't want to see her gone. It's just a shame that she has to be gone. It's not fair. Why couldn't someone else be gone? Why couldn't the goat be gone? Oh, no, I probably should talk about these two as well. Zephyr and the other one. What they represent, the idea that they're ambiguous, at least gender-wise. It's a clever way of doing that with the baby that was thrown off the cliff, because we don't really know what the baby was, and if the baby really did go down a cliff really roughly, it's probably not exactly a fully formed person, which is what probably furniture means as well. And so it's really interesting how these two demons represent that as the test of love, and how they're just, one and the same, and yet they complete each other's sentence. They're the exact same. The only difference is you don't know which gender which one is, because they're both different, even though they look identical. Which, if you go back to Shenna and Canon, the only difference between them is really which gender are they, if they're one and the same, which is what it probably remains. Oh God, this actually isn't as long as I thought it was going to be. I thought the explaining how the meta works or like how the structure works is gonna be harder. But that structure, I mean, there'll be need more to come as well. I'm probably missing something major. Someone will probably tell me, oh, by the way, you said you were gonna talk about this. Ah, shit. I don't remember. I'll be honest, I'm too busy just enraptured by how great of a story this one was. How this episode was just the perfect encapsulation of everything I wanted in a story. If I could just have a repeat of 6 over and over again, I would do that. I would never get bored with it. It is just so well written, so well spaced out, so well organized. Everything about it was perfect. I can't think of a scene in there that was wasted or, you know, boring. Regardless, I'm going to get to episode 7. Hope to get some answers to all my questions, and see you guys there.